You need more water?
I was just thinking about it.
Or I'll give you some of mine because I have extra. Couldn't find my water the whole meeting. I was like, where?
Alice Cowboy cheerleader.
So who's introducing the hearing, the public hearing?
Kyle Bryce.
Kyle?
Yep.
Okay. LB. Okay. No, I don't wanna- Good evening. I call this meeting to order at 7:01 PM. As usual, I like to start this meeting with a moment for us all to kind of take a pause because we have busy lives, busy days, our children, our work, our family. So just take a moment to just get ready for the meeting and take a pause as you would like to. Thank you. I now invite you, as you're able, to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Kel-
here.
Kelly.
Here.
Mikulski.
Here.
Polika. Leaks May.
Here. I'd like anyone to entertain a motion to approve the agenda with excusing.
To the chair. Oh,
Through
sorry. Yeah, okay. Excusing Councilman Polika, please.
I move we excuse Councilmember Polika from this evening's meeting.
Support.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. And now approval of the agenda with amendments.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. All right. We have some presentations tonight. The first presentation will be our city manager, Joe Gaucho, will be presenting.
Yeah, through the chair, I am happy to introduce everyone to our new Assistant City Manager, James Grazan. James, I'll just have you go on up to the lectern and just offer a brief introduction of yourself.
Yes, thank you, Joe. Good evening, Mayor and Council. James Curzan, the new Assistant City Manager. I've been here now, this is the beginning of my 5th week already, but it's great to be here. We've got a wonderful team, and I'm looking forward to everything we can do.
Welcome, James. Right. Our second presentation, that was a quick one, will be the introduction of our new inspector, and I believe Roger's introducing.
Evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Yes, this is the introduction of our new inspector, Brett Sturts. Brett comes to us from Pontiac. You may know that we had a couple of positions out, 2 positions, and we're reimagining the code enforcement rental side. So what we've talked about in the building division is both inspectors will be rental and code enforcement, but we'll divide up the city. North of 9 will be Brett, and then south of 9 Mile will be another inspector. We have that position out right now. We have to meet this week to discuss. And then one will do rental inspections in the morning and one will do them in the afternoon. So I'll have Brett come up, say a couple things. We'll be really quick.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brett Sturts. As Roger said, I came here from Pontiac. I've already done the position of combination code enforcement and rental inspector before. I've been doing inspections in some variety for the last 10 years. I'm very excited to be here in the city of Ferndale, and I look forward to working with all of you. The easiest way to contact me is via email right now. My email address is bsturtz, STURTZ, @ferndalemi.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Brett.
Welcome aboard, Brett.
Our next presentation is from the Ferndale Parks and Recreation Commission, and Lorena is presenting. Oh, there she is.
Through the chair, if Lorena could introduce our Parks and Rec commissioners in the audience. Thank you.
Good evening. So I want to take a moment to introduce our Parks and Recreation Commission Chair, Aaron Molnar. Here? Okay. Well, on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Commission, I will present on today. Just give me 1 second. We just need one brief moment. In essence of time, I would like to propose that we can come back to the presentation so we can kind of get settled in.
All right, would you like to, we move you down the line?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
You need to amend the agenda for that?
You could just revisit that after 4E.
Okay, okay. And I believe our next presentation would be a presentation from our Oakland County Treasurer, or our Finance Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On behalf of our Oakland County Treasurer, I've been asked to read a statement to the council regarding their foreclosure prevention program. The Oakland County Treasurer's Office is in the final stretch of its foreclosure prevention efforts. The tax foreclosure deadline for 2021 or prior years is on April 1st, 2024. That means that if these taxes aren't paid by April 1st, or any interested party hasn't entered into a repayment schedule with the Treasurer's Office by then, the property will be foreclosed. Since December of 2023, the Treasurer's Office has conducted over 1,000 taxpayer assistance meetings to assist taxpayers with keeping their properties by working with them to get on a repayment schedule and or by identifying resources that may be beneficial to them and their situation. We are here to help and strongly encourage taxpayers to contact us before this foreclosure deadline. If they have delinquent taxes for 2021 or prior years, taxpayers interested in scheduling a taxpayer assistance meeting may call us at 248-858-0611. Again, that's 248-858-0611. Or they may visit www.oakgov.com/treasurer. Some of the resources available to assist taxpayers include Financial Empowerment Center in the Treasurer's Office, which provides one-on-one financial coaching and services to help taxpayers achieve their financial goals. Contact Rita at nafsor@oak.gov or 248-807-5287. Again, 248-807-5287. They can also contact Lakeshore Legal Aid, which provides free legal services to people who are on low income and seniors. Their contact information is 1-888-783-8190. Again, 1-888-783-8190 is the number for all new clients. Again, we are here to help and strongly encourage taxpayers to contact the Treasurer's Office if they have delinquent taxes for 2021 or prior tax years. If taxpayers are interested in scheduling a taxpayer assistance meeting, they may call us at 248-858-0611. Thank you, Robin Wittenberg of the Oakland County Treasurer's Office.
Thank you. All right, do we still need a pause regarding the, okay.
Through the chair, I'd suggest just to move on.
Okay.
We'll table that presentation. You can?
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Yes, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Molnar. I am the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission and going to give you our 2024 strategic priorities today. And it looks like we're having some issues with the presentation, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so just to introduce ourselves, first of all, I wanted to acknowledge a couple people from last year. Laura, who was our council liaison for at least the last year, maybe more than that.
Quite some time.
Yep. And Valerie Kokoschka and Mike Evoy, they were on the committee previously, and we wanted to just thank them for their commitment to the city and for volunteering and for their service. Their terms were up and they opted to not renew them. And so the current team, missing some folks, but myself, chair, Jen is the co-chair. We have the longest tenure, and then we have several new people on the committee. We have Anne Marie Chamberlain, Carrie Gertis, and Jessica Ingolia, and then Rolanda Kelly is our new council liaison. And then because Mike and Valerie, their terms were up, we have also 2 vacancies on the committee right now, which I believe are in the process of being filled soon. So first, just some highlights from 2023. These are more highlights of the wonderful Parks and Rec Department, but they are things that we discuss in all of our committee meetings. Most of us on the committee volunteer for multiple Parks and Rec events. Tons of grant funding. Shout out to the Parks and Rec Department for always going after so many grants that fund so many programs. Sports participation, we have a new girls basketball league, which is really exciting. Increase in adult programming, and our senior trips are going strong, including one coming up to Mackinac Island. daddy-daughter dance, gravity art fair, which I think is really cool, and all the other fun, cool stuff and programming that our Parks Department does. Moving on to strategic priorities. There's 4 of them. The Parks and Rec Committee are kind of an advisory committee. So we tried to focus on things that we can actually take action on in that capacity. And so we settled on 4 priorities together. One is to inform and support a defined volunteer management strategy. So most of our Parks and Rec runs a lot of events. Most of them are staffed by both the Parks Department and volunteers. And it's very challenging, as with any volunteer organization, to have to go out and get new volunteers for each event. So we're interested in trying to increase our volunteers, think about how we can recruit more volunteers, but also maintain and like a database or a list or something of past volunteers, so we can just make that process of getting volunteers for each event a little bit easier. And then we also have committed to having one committee member at each event as kind of a like minimum participation. So it doesn't end up being like the same person at every single event. Number 2 is communication and awareness of Parks and Rec initiatives. So I think there is improvements to be made in communication and awareness of all the amazing things that the Parks and Rec Department does. I think when we've gotten survey feedback, when we've done surveys of the community, that even when we had a Kulik Center, people were not even aware that we had a rec center. They weren't aware of classes or that there was a gym or anything like that. So continuing to kind of market the Parks and Rec Department, I would say their biggest channel in terms of like regular updates is their Facebook page, and also making sure that the new city website is updated with current information. And then the second bullet here is in particular about keeping the community informed of new projects and new developments, because there are many, especially coming up this year, lots of improvements to parks and many large projects happening at the same time, and people are interested in hearing how they're going and progress and things like that. And so we had a couple ideas potentially for helping the department communicate that. Priority 3 is around the Martin Road Recreation Facility, which is going to start being discussed more coming up, and basically our role in that would just be to help spread awareness, participate in community meetings, gather community input about what they want to see in this rec facility, which, if anybody's listening, is not a community center, but it is a rec facility that will be very useful to the Parks Department, and we'll be able to do equipment rentals and things like that out of it. So just supporting the department in that and any communication related to it. And then number 4, adult programming. We get feedback that more adult programming is wanted. We have senior stuff, we have kids stuff, we have less stuff for people in the middle, and especially without kids. So figuring out what we can add, how we can increase adult programming, and be, as the Parks and Rec Committee, the kind of eyes and ears of the community to bring ideas in, look at what other cities are doing, and what our constituency would be interested in. So that's that. Those are our priorities. I don't know if I'm supposed to ask if there are any questions, but I will.
Through the chair, I don't have any questions, but I really wanted to commend your group on organizing all of this, emphasizing communication. It is absolutely essential to activate our parks and activate Parks and Rec. And I'm just very proud of the work that you all have done.
Much.
And I miss you.
Thank you for your participation and support the last few years. And we are excited to work with Roe going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so our last presentation, 4E, will be presented by Mayor Pro Tem Laura Mikulski.
Thank you. I suspect all of you are here for this, and I'm glad to see you here. It has felt like it's been a long time coming. I know that you've been propositioning us since before December 18th, but you've come to council quite often. And I appreciate all the feedback that we've gotten, all the emails. It's been enlightening. It's been a good experience for council to hear your voices. And basically, this is the genesis of community conversation, due diligence, as well as council trying to do the thing that we can do within the scope of our charter. And with that said, Mayor, would it make sense for me to read the proclamation at this point?
Well, so regarding presentation, this presentation in particular, the proclamation can be read. There's opportunity for the audience to speak, is that correct, for presentations?
Through the chair, that's fine. I suggest that Councilwoman Mikulski do read it. I think as proposed on the agenda, after the reading of it, you may, Mayor and Council, wish to have the opportunity to hear from comments from the public. At some point, though, should Council wish to adopt it, there should be a motion to adopt the proclamation. But you can read it first so that everybody's aware of the substance of it.
As well as opportunity if council wants to make comments as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Will we also have an opportunity for questions?
Questions?
Questions of council?
Questions from the audience?
From council?
No, I think that's, yes, prior to the motion to adopt, if that gets that far.
Outstanding. Okay.
All right.
I will go forth and read the resolution, or the proclamation. So the title of the proclamation is acknowledging the impact of the Israel-Gaza conflict on residents of Ferndale and affirming our stance against discrimination. The city of Ferndale prides itself on being a diverse and inclusive community that values empathy, understanding, and the well-being of its residents. The city of Ferndale is a community enriched by its diverse populace, including Palestinian, Israeli, Muslim, Jewish, and residents of various other backgrounds. The ongoing conflict in Israel and Gaza has caused significant distress among our Palestinian American and Israeli American residents, leading to feelings of pain, fear, and concern for their loved ones in the region. The ongoing conflict in Israel and Gaza has not only directly affected our Palestinian American and Jewish residents, but also those who, regardless of their own heritage, have family, friends, or other connections in the affected region. The City of Ferndale recognizes that such an international issue, while outside our municipal governance scope, resonates deeply and impacts the emotional well-being of many within our community. And the City Council of Ferndale is resolutely committed to combating all forms of discrimination, including Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, which pose a threat to the safety, dignity, and equality of our residents. The City of Ferndale expresses its unwavering support for all Arab, Israeli, Palestinian, Jewish, Muslim, and all other members of the community who are impacted, each of whom has the right to learn, work, worship, gather, advocate, mourn, and celebrate free from intimidation, harassment, doxing, and fear of violence. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the City Council of Ferndale that, number one, the City Council acknowledges the profound impact of the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict on not only our Palestinian American and Israeli American residents, but also our Muslim, Jewish, and other community members who feel a connection to the region. The City Council firmly condemns Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and all forms of bigotry and discrimination, reaffirming its commitment to a community where all individuals are respected and protected, regardless of their faith, ethnicity, or connections to global issues. The City Council encourages open, respectful dialogue within our community, promoting an atmosphere of peace, empathy, and mutual respect, while recognizing the varied and deeply personal connections many residents have to the Israel-Gaza conflict. The City Council urges all members of our community to engage in constructive discussions and to support each other, reinforcing our collective resilience against divisiveness, hatred, and misunderstanding. City Council reiterates its dedication to being a welcoming, inclusive, and supportive community for all residents, advocating for the mental and emotional well-being, and standing against any form of bigotry or hatred. And finally, the City Council recognizes the desire of community members for peace as principles in line with our community's values, including the pursuit of a durable bilateral ceasefire, the safe release of hostages, and the provision of unfettered humanitarian aid. Be it further resolved that a copy of this proclamation be made available to the public and distributed to relevant community organizations as a testament to the City of Ferndale's commitment to unity, compassion, understanding, and respect for the diverse experiences and perspectives of all of its residents.
Thank you. And now this is the opportunity that first we open up comments regarding this proclamation to the public. So if you have a comment, you would need to line up and make your comment.
The ending of it passed for these old
Absolutely.
where you get to the matter.
The City Council recognizes the desire of community members for peace and as principles in line with our community's values, including the pursuit of a durable bilateral ceasefire, the safe release of all hostages, and the provision of unfettered humanitarian aid. Is that the line? That is correct.
You would come to the podium, line up at the podium.
My name is Prasad Venugopal. Been a Ferndale resident for almost 20 years now. Mostly I'm standing up here to thank Councilwoman Laura for the conversations that we've had and the discussions that we've had over an extended period of time. Councilwoman and I know that we profoundly disagree on issues of local jurisdiction and of what council should and should not do on issues of global importance. Council has many a time on issues of reproductive justice, on climate crisis, anti-Asian hate, and so on, spoken with a moral clarity that I believe is missing in this proclamation. But it is a first step. And I'm looking forward to council voting on this proclamation. But I would be lying if I said that this is what I thought was needed. And I'm not talking about the moral clarity that on even the Israeli-Palestinian issue. I'm talking about the moral clarity that comes from watching the world burn and recognizing that our government has taken a decidedly one-sided stance on it, using our tax dollars. We will be here again. We don't have an option, because already it has started. In the next few weeks, the Israeli government is going to be bombing the city of Rafah, which holds about 1.5 million people. I'd like council to know that if we translated what is happening and about to happen in Rafah to Ferndale terms, it would be as if the 20,000, over the last 4 months, the roughly 20,000 residents of the city swelled to 10 times its amount, to 200,000. And the US government decided to use missiles, tanks, and 2,000-pound bombs and bomb our residential neighborhoods here on the pretext of us harboring militants, paramilitary groups, and so on, and to destroy our homes. Right now, the US Congress is planning to send another $17 billion to Israel, all for military aid. We need to speak with moral clarity that I believe is missing in this proclamation. but we will be back here again because we cannot escape our complicity in what is being done in Gaza.
Madam Mayor, honorable council members, my name is David Watson. I live on Northwest Maplehurst. I've been here 21 years. I'm the son of a World War II veteran who joined the war to fight fascism. And my mother was half Jewish, and we believed that, that we must fight for justice everywhere. We grew up believing that. After some reluctance, I came here tonight to urge you to endorse the call by Doctors Without Borders, among others, for, quote, an immediate ceasefire in Gaza to save lives and restore the flow of humanitarian aid. This is a call that strikes me as somewhat stronger than your proclamation. The same call is, by the way, being made by all of the major human rights organizations globally: Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, the American Friends Service Committee, Oxfam, and many other leading groups. It is also a consensus among the UN General Assembly, a consensus that basically has been blocked by the US veto. So why my reluctance is because it seems so inadequate, even what I quoted to you. What does it matter what this small town in Michigan says or does about this huge international conflict and the criminality in which this attack is presently being carried out? Well, I will quote a young man at the time sitting in the Birmingham jail who said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. So I cannot sit idly by in Ferndale and not be concerned about what happens in Gaza. In a previous meeting, I heard it said that from up there that there are many international conflicts and we can't address them all. I think that's sadly true. But we're paying for this, as the previous speaker said. Blood is on our hands. If you want to know what you would do if you were alive during the Holocaust or during civil rights or the war in Vietnam or any other horrible conflict, some which we have seen in our lives, don't worry. You are alive during that time. To pass a resolution is next to nothing. It's the lifting of a single finger of our, I say our bloody hand. One finger of that hand. It's more, so because we're paying for it, it's critical that we address it. Chicago has addressed it. Detroit has addressed it. Many other cities have addressed it. It's a small thing for us to address it. We're not making anyone unsafe by saying these things, by saying stop the killing, my friends. Alex DeWall, an expert on famine at Tufts University, recently stated that in studying this subject for 40 years, he has not seen or studied a situation in which a population was reduced with this speed, this rigor, this comprehensiveness to a state of starvation. It is unprecedented since World War II, he said. We are seeing massive war crimes and a very solid case for genocide. I was reluctant to follow that because it's such a high bar when I was studying this early on. But we're seeing acts of genocide. And in fact, we've already seen, and you can find them easily, statements by multiple members of the leadership, political and military, of the State of Israel intending to carry out these acts, and now they are being carried out. So I would say I agree with the previous speaker and his eloquent words that I'm glad for a start, and I respect your suffering over this issue and your uncertainty, but it is time and it is small, and it's going to be important not only for the sake of people there, but for our own sake, because this conflict is undermining our own fight for democracy in this country. We are Netanyahu is the super MAGA of Israel, and he and his settler cronies who are celebrating what's happening in Gaza, who have said repeatedly to kill them all, destroy them all, slaughter them all, flatten them all.
Thank you.
These are the people that we are starting to see that we're going to face, and he has split our fragile coalition in this country for democracy. We're going to have to work our way through that, and I think these ceasefire resolutions can help us push us in that direction to protecting our own democracy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm going to try to respect the time. Hello, my name is Dalton. I'm newly arrived in the state of Michigan since only a week and a half ago. I wish I could say that I'm proud to be here with the new community that I found, but I'm not. I'm ashamed. I spent the past year working as an educator with Palestinians in the West Bank and in Jerusalem. We had colleagues from Gaza, and although we could never meet in person, I came to know them remotely, including some of them while they were being bombarded in 2022. I have a colleague who is at Rafah right now with her new husband. I know students who are at boarding schools who are from Gaza in boarding schools outside of the region whose family are now at the Rafah border and they are unable to evacuate them. I could have chosen so many angles. My mind was racing before I came here. I could have talked about a million things that I saw visited upon my Palestinian brothers and sisters over the past year and why it's necessary to call for a ceasefire. But Israel made it really uncomplicated last night and confirmed the urgency of an immediate ceasefire. Just when I think I've seen it all, Israel decides that exactly when millions of American eyes are glued to their TV screens watching the Super Bowl, they decide to bomb and massacre an area with a population density of Manhattan that was declared a safe zone, and also to air a propaganda ad during the game. This is the most sinister and cynical sight my eyes have witnessed thus far. 2 Israeli hostages were rescued when 120, i.e. all of them, could have been released during the proposed ceasefire a few days ago, which Netanyahu refused, just as what happened in November during the humanitarian pause. All of this is mere days after we found out that the Israeli occupation forces murdered 6-year-old Hind Rajab and her family and the paramedics who attempted to rescue her. I'm asking you guys, do you have electricity? Do you have social media? Do you have kids who have social media? Then if so, you are seeing the same scenes that we are right now, and you are not calling for a ceasefire. If that's the case, you are aiding and abetting in a genocide. You can blame Hamas all you want, and you can cry human shields. You can peddle debunked stories about military bases and hospitals and tunnels under graveyards. You can try to co-opt the idea of protecting Jewish and Israeli lives and claim to give a damn about Arab and Muslim lives. But when I speak with my Palestinian friends, they tell me you've deprived them of hope. And what more can be said that hasn't already been said for 4 months and over 75 years? In your proclamation, you say you're also protecting Jewish and Israeli feelings, but I spoke with Israeli anti-Zionist activists last night who are calling for a ceasefire and an end to the genocide. A letter from the Israeli organization Yesh Din, co-signed by over 36 Israeli organizations, released on February 7th, is calling for a ceasefire. I'm usually an agreeable person. I try to give grace, honestly, but I was wondering how patient I could be in my remarks today. But from what I've heard from organizers who've been coming to meetings here since November, they have met all of your criteria. They have had Jewish members of the community come in and call for a ceasefire, and still you've done nothing but try and thoughts and prayers and diversity and inclusion your way out of calling for a ceasefire.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ceasefire now. Free Gaza and free Palestine from the river to the sea. If Genocide Joe can tell you that their response is over the top, then why can't Ferndale? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ibrahim Ghanim. I'm 6 years old and I'm a resident of Ferndale. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but might as well say two things that I have for you. Save the children in Gaza, ceasefire now, thank you. Hello, my name is Maryam Ghanem. I'm a resident of Ferndale, and I'm speaking once again to ask the mayor and the council members to call for a ceasefire resolution, not just a proclamation, and to put pressure on the representatives so they can call for a ceasefire. Not calling for a ceasefire has made us look very bad. So far, 3 cities in Michigan itself have called for a ceasefire: Ann Arbor, Canton, Hamtramck, Dearborn Heights, Ypsilanti, and Dearborn. Just recently, the little girl who had been crying for help with her family in their car has been found dead along with the people who were going to rescue her. It is not fair that while we have a safe and peaceful country, the United States is sending billions of our tax dollars to Israel so they can attack and take over Palestine. It's like somebody knocking on your door, taking and claiming your house for themselves. People who think this started on October 7th, 2023 are wrong. This has been going on for a very long time, and we need to stop it. We won't stop coming until the city council calls for a ceasefire and make sure this never happens again. People who try to make us forget about all this will never make us forget. Palestine will always be in our hearts, no matter what happens. I hope you make up your mind soon, because Gaza needs us. End the genocide, ceasefire now.
Before you speak, just a moment. Because I know that we have public counsel right after that, and many more people want to speak, I'm going to stop the presentation speaking right after this gentleman, Mr. Flores, at the end, because I know that all of you want to speak during public counsel, and I want us to have time to do that. Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Savannah Camplin. I am a Ferndale resident of about a year. I looked at the council agenda last night and I felt very disappointed in reading the proclamation when we have been calling for a ceasefire resolution. The proclamation felt like, honestly, kind of a lot of fluff. It didn't really feel like it made a strong statement at all. And I felt deeply disappointed, especially because the proclamation is recognizing what your citizens are asking for and then continuing not to act on that. It goes on, the more hopeless I feel, not just about the genocide, but about our whole political structure that I have to exist in. But I can't become hopeless because that would be a disservice to those who have died and those who are still fighting to survive. So I keep showing up to these meetings because these are the people who give me hope, and I will keep showing up until you start properly representing your constituents or until we vote in council members who will. Thank you.
Well, I'll be reading a resident's comment. Hi, my name is Jonathan Ross, a Ferndale resident living on Shelvin Street. During the Super Bowl last night, Israel bombed houses, mosques, and refugee tents in Rafah, murdering over 100 civilian Gazans. This is a city that now holds over 1.5 million displaced Palestinians fleeing for safety. But Netanyahu and the state of Israel has made it abundantly clear that nowhere in Gaza or Palestine is safe from the genocide. While those war crimes were happening, millions watched the Super Bowl ads that serve as propaganda for the imperialist Western commercialism that funds these atrocities. I will keep saying it as long as it keeps being true. We are witnessing a genocide in real time, and none of our government officials are listening. I have made repeated calls to the offices of Peter Stabenow and Haley Stevens, but their ears are clogged by AIPAC money. And I continue to seek representation in a country that claims to be a democracy. So I take the advice of others and go even more local and ask my city council to do the bare minimum. A ceasefire resolution that might help put pressure on our state and federal governments to listen to its citizens and end the bloodshed. Yet even here, in a so-called progressive city of working-class people, our representatives sit on their hands in response to our heartbreak with soft liberal euphemisms and maddening inaction. The proclamation on tonight's agenda simply does not have the same political power as a resolution, and its wording is insufficient for the moral and humanitarian crisis on hand. City Council continues to use the language of inclusivity to camouflage its failure to stand up against genocide. And I honestly don't know where else to turn. My heart breaks for Palestine and for the family of those 35,000 martyrs. And I can't find political representation anywhere, even in my own neighborhood. If my only course of action is to be the thorn in your side, asking again and again for a revolution, then that is what I will do. So please listen to your constituents and draft a resolution that makes it clear that Ferndale condemns genocide and demand an immediate and durable ceasefire in Palestine, the release of all hostages, and a permanent end to the Israeli siege on Gaza. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Wynn Klein. I'm a resident of Warren, but I also practice theater here and I attend events at Affirmations. I'm speaking because I've actually visited several city councils in this area in the past week, and I've met some really amazing people. I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to feel like an orphan, and I know what it's like to be abandoned. Unfortunately, most citizens of the world can say this. Theater folks are known for their empathy, and I have an access of it. I'm deeply troubled by the images of death and destruction in Gaza. It's true what everyone is saying. We are watching a genocide in real time. What makes the lives of Gaza so different from our own? Yes, they are far away, but anyone blessed with life knows what fate and fortune are random. It was pure luck that I was born in a country that is not being besieged by another country. What can I do with my luck? How can I honor these 25,000 martyrs? How can I stop that number from increasing? I personally think we all in this area need to call for a ceasefire, not just a resolution. It's not going to cut it. And I'm kind of sick of spending, and it's weird, spending all my time going around. It's nice to meet new people, but at what cost, you know? But we have to call for a ceasefire in this area. And it's not just something that is like, oh, well, why aren't you talking to your federal government? We're doing that, but we need your help. And I recall someone saying something in one of the meetings that I was a part of that said, if you do not stand by us, you do not deserve our vote. And we need you to stand by us right now and help us get this ceasefire passed. It's not, a proclamation is not going to cut it. And I think also to my fellow white Americans, we are benefactors of colonialism, and it's our duty to help our Black and brown neighbors change the system we benefit from. We must use our privilege to work for equality. If you really believe in racial equality, this is your time to show that. Furthermore, I will be voting uncommitted this year. If anyone has any questions about the uncommitted vote, I'm happy to address those. You can visit listentomichigan.com for more information. Again, if you do not stand by us, you do not deserve our vote. Thank you very much. Thank you.
My name is Chantel Boyer. I am a journalist, but I'm not coming here as a journalist. I'm coming here as a human being. And you're right there. You are in direct, constant visual. You're looking, you're listening. You're the only one that keeps listening. I'm not saying nobody else is listening. I'm just saying you're actually listening. My rhetorical question is, how many of you have children? I'm not asking. 10,000 children have been killed. When do we ever sit here and try to have a debate about 10,000 children getting killed? You can talk about Hamas. You can talk about that. I woke up this morning and saw a little girl hanging with half her body gone. You're going to sit here and tell me that you can't pass a resolution that says ceasefire for her? For her. That's what's happening. As a journalist, they're killing my colleagues. We should be protected, and we're not. It is your job to reflect us, and you're not doing it. And my question is why? I'm not asking, it's rhetorical. But money is greater. It's not greater than human life. Most people in here have a heart for kids. When that little girl spoke, y'all was moved by it. But 10,000 kids killed for what? Greed, oil, money? Is it worth it? And you look at us and you just like, oh, they're just talking. No, it means something to us. It's not just happening over there, it's happening to us because we're funding it. 80% of their missiles is bought and is given by us. We're paying for this. So how is it different? Because we're paying for it. Your tax dollars that you give every year is paying for this. How can you sleep at night knowing 10,000 children was killed? It's my job to show the truth. When are you going to show the truth? And reflect the community. Do better.
Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. My name is Jared Barden. I am a nurse, local resident of Ferndale since 2018. I have been heartbroken the last 120 plus days of seeing the genocide live stream. 20,000 plus deaths toll and 10,000 children. 374 doctors and nurses killed by Israel since October 7th. Israel specifically targeting hospitals and ambulances. Mothers giving birth without anesthesia. Doctors performing surgeries without anesthesia. Women using scraps for feminine hygiene products. Starvation, withholding humanitarian aid. Israeli settlers blocking humanitarian aid, much needed medical supplies. We live in a very dark world, and I appreciate the tone of your discussion tonight and your calling for inclusion. And I'm asking for a ceasefire so that we can be in line with even citizens of Israel who are calling for a ceasefire for their neighbors, Palestinian neighbors in Gaza. Thank you for this time.
Buenas noches. Good evening. My name is Mike Flores, a former
I'm
Ferndale.
sorry, can we stop we have, we're opening it up for public comment after, and he is the last speaker, just so you know. Okay. Can we start it over for Mr. Flores? There we go. Thank you.
Start over. Good evening. Buenas noches. My name is Mike Flores, a former Ferndale resident, but my family continues to invest in the city, and we own a small practice in the city. Many of us in this room and on that bench who may identify as people of color, women, LGBTQ+, and or other marginalized groups know all too well the trauma of dehumanization and why words matter. Why words like resolutions do matter. We as a community must be vigilant in ensuring that we do not perpetuate the cycle of dehumanization. I want to read a poem by Palestinian-American poet Zaina Azam to help us center on the most vulnerable humans being impacted by this genocide. And every time I read this poem, I cry, so I apologize. Write my name on my leg, mama. Use the black permanent marker with the ink that doesn't bleed if it gets wet. The one that doesn't melt if it's exposed to the heat. Write my name on my leg, mama. Make the lines thick and clear. Add your special flourishes so that I can take comfort in seeing my mama's handwriting when I go to sleep. write my name on my leg, Mama, and on the leg of my sisters and brothers. This way, we will belong together. This way, we will be known as your children. Write my name on your leg, Mama. And please write your name and Baba's name on your legs, too. So we will be remembered as a family. Write my name on my leg, Mama. Don't add any numbers, like when I was born or the address of our home. I don't want the world to list me as a number. I have a name, and I am not a number. Write my name on my leg, Mama. When the bomb hits our house, when the walls crush our skulls and bones, our legs will tell our story, how there was nowhere for us to run. Please support a ceasefire resolution.
So this is where we open it up for council to deliberate regarding the proclamation tonight. Any questions?
Through the chair. Resolution versus proclamation. That is my question. I wrote this as a resolution. To follow that, I will cop to the fact that I was completely ignorant that there was any difference between a resolution and a proclamation. Didn't know. When I wrote to our city attorney on February 5th, I asked for any material difference between a proclamation and a resolution. There is none, correct?
Through the chair, no, they're both representative of action and an expression of the intent of a majority of council. Resolution is sometimes looked at as a more official manner of documenting and expressing that sentiment of council, but both of them are actions expressing the will of council.
When we pass this, which I'm hoping that we do tonight, when a motion is passed by a majority of the members of council, does it become a resolution, or does it still live as a proclamation?
That's the title of the document. I mean, that distinction has very little legal distinction. There are some statutes that seek to have a resolution of council for purposes of certain issues with the state. Sometimes certified motions of council can act in that in place of such expression, but they're both a proclamation and a resolution are looked at as ceremonial representations, usually in writing, expressing the will and sentiment of council.
So with this having the intent of recognizing, which isn't an action, it is an action, it is also, if we're going by the most formal definition of a proclamation being the expression, like a broad statement from council, I can see that there's a gray area between the two. But if we are recognizing the hurt of the community and encouraging positive, productive dialogue, just like we did with the resolution of recognition of Jewish American Heritage Month back in 2023, if we're doing that, can it not be a resolution?
Well, I'm not sure if you're asking me, but if, through the chair,
Of theoretical
you
ask.
could, you could have this as a resolution adopting the proclamation. That also could express the will of council as it relates to the title of the document.
So, if I may, through the chair. There was my understanding of a difference between a resolution and a proclamation, both of them being statements of a government body that is adopted. A proclamation is an acknowledgement that we know and we hear what the community is asking for. And I'm not just talking about the community that I'm looking at, I'm talking about the community that I hear from that is not here talking. And that a resolution is just that, a resolution. We resolve. We're opting to fix something. We're opting to resolve something, which I don't know that we can do. I read this proclamation, and I recognize the hard work that's been done as far as drafting it, and I recognize that a lot of work's been put into it as far as from Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski, community members, council members. I don't know, Johnny, if you've had.
No,
Okay.
on the back end.
Okay, all right. So I appreciate that. And once I read it, that proclamation to me had just an understanding of community written all through it. And I'm hearing people say that it is weak, but to me, it's very strong. It's a foundation of what we believe in this community. And I just am prepared to support it tonight. I don't know if any other council members has any other comments or questions before we go into the vote for this proclamation.
We're not asking you to recognize the community.
We don't speak from the audience, please.
We don't speak from the audience.
Are there any other comments before we go into the roll?
Well, through the chair, there's not been a motion.
Well, excuse me, before we entertain a motion.
Will we have time to comment after?
If a motion is made, then council has an opportunity to speak to the motion.
All right, well, first, if there's no more deliberation, who will entertain a motion to accept the proclamation?
I'll make a motion to accept the proclamation presented by Laura, Councilmember Laura.
I will second that, so for the purposes of opening discussion.
We need a roll call.
There's not a roll call yet.
Okay.
Excuse me, through the chair now.
For discussion, before we vote.
And I think there
Okay.
may be members of council who wish to
Very
address.
well. All right, I'll open it up.
Through the chair, I have a lot to say, so if anybody wants to go first, please do.
I think we want you to go first.
Okay. So I have a lot on my mind. I've been listening a lot. I don't know if any of you have watched city council meetings before you started coming to council for ceasefire. But if you have, you know that I'm not a speaker at length. It's not something that I do on a regular basis. I'm known for being a quiet person, and this is very much out of my element. But I have a lot on my mind after months of listening and research. So please, saddle up. This will not be brief. This will not be entirely pleasant. Let's start with the good. Today, as we endorse this proclamation, and I've had to change my notes multiple times because I keep on wanting to call it a resolution because in my heart of hearts, I feel like it is a resolution. But as we endorse this proclamation, we affirm our dedication to the ideals of justice, equality, and the profound well-being of every member of the city of Ferndale. In the shadow of the Israel-Gaza conflict, we stand united in our resolve to combat discrimination in all of its forms. I've said it before in the proclamation. I'm going to say it again. Be it Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, or any bigotry that threatens the fabric of our diverse community. This document is more than words on paper. It is a commitment to fostering an environment where dialogue flourishes, understanding deepens, and every individual, regardless of background or belief, is respected and protected. By acknowledging the pain and hopes of our Palestinian American and Israeli American residents, we reinforce our collective aspiration for a peaceful, inclusive community. We can all agree that Ferndale values reflect a desire for a future where empathy and mutual respect are the cornerstones of our shared existence, free of violence, and a testament to the strength found in diversity. And I, as a council member, but not as a council body, I can endorse a ceasefire resolution. I can call for a ceasefire. I can't do it as a public body. I have said it since our December 18th meeting, and I'm saying it again tonight. I can't do it. I wish I could. And as a person, yes, I want a ceasefire. Now, I'd also like to say that I've appreciated the insight you all have brought to the table. I've spent a staggering amount of time reading the emails sent, consuming the media you post on Facebook and Instagram, all of the media that you post on Facebook and Instagram. I've watched it all. So please know that I have watched everything put forth by Motaz and Wassam. I've also watched every piece of footage that came from October 7th, most recorded by the perpetrators of the violence or from nearby CCTV. I've immersed myself in reporting from Al Jazeera, as well as from Haaretz. I will carry with me the horrors of death and injuries in Gaza, just as I will carry the horror of October 7th as well. Next, I want to set the stage with some background on who I am, because I imagine most of you don't know me, and you probably won't know me much beyond this either. Who I am and how it influences my views on this. Carry with me not just my convictions, but the legacy of a man who taught me the value of service, the complexity of courage, and the importance of questioning the status quo. And why I'm getting a little bit teary-eyed is beyond me. My father was a stubborn, insubordinate Army veteran, a man who navigated Vietnam on an Army gunner boat, and he told very few stories of war. Instead, he gifted me a perspective that sees beyond the veil of oversimplification. He had a profound aversion to violence against those unable to defend themselves, and a healthy skepticism towards media and governmental decisions. He was a man who knew all too well the price of conflict and the value of questioning authority, no matter the consequences. I grew up understanding the folly of blind obedience and dogmatic belief, and conversely, the power of thoughtful deliberation and of understanding the gray areas that often define our world. So it's in this spirit I've deliberated and written this proclamation. Unswayed by all or nothing rhetoric or bullying tactics, I have listened to you. I've listened to well-intentioned rhetoric that sidesteps any attempt at nuance. I've listened to petition that, while passionate, borders on coercion. As somebody who inherently questions demands and is no stranger to my own insubordinate streak, I address this issue not because of those persuasive tactics, but despite them. And to the handful of those who said council members may not be worried, or actually, I take that back, the handful of those who said council members might be worried and not want to entertain this because it's not popular, good news, everybody. You've been dealing with the council member least likely to care about that all along. As I present to you my thoughts on this matter, let it be a testament to the legacy of questioning, of service, of a relentless pursuit of the world where dialogue triumphs over discord and empathy over enmity. To understand the seemingly perpetual conflict, we often stumble upon terminologies laden with historical weight. I didn't hear these tonight, but I've heard them before. Colonialism, a term often ascribed to Israel, is a brush too broad for the canvas of this conflict, ignoring the realities of Jewish refugees. Please save it, I've got more coming. Jewish refugees, as well as those who are indigenous, and a desire for a place of safety born out of the ashes of unspeakable tragedy. To paint it solely, Joshua, I heard you before.
Please.
Give me a minute.
Please proceed. Please proceed, Mayor Pro Tem.
Are we done? To paint it solely as a colonial state is to overlook the multifaceted nature of its genesis, its people's narrative of survival and identity, and borders on justification for any violence directed at them. On the flip side of the coin lies Palestine, often branded with the mark of revanchism. To view the Palestinian struggle through this lens alone is to ignore their cries for dignity and self-determination. The Palestinian pursuit at its core is not merely a quest for lost land, but a yearning for recognition, for a place to call home, free from the shackles of occupation and the shadows of displacement. This history has led to profound and painful complexities affecting the lives and rights of others. These pursuits, entangled in the thorns of extremism and despair, sometimes lose their way, clouding the vision of peaceful coexistence. In this intricate interplay of narratives, it's clear that the terms colonialism and revanchism do not capture the essence of either side's story. They are simplistic labels, attempting to define struggles that are deeply rooted in the human condition, in our innate longing for a place to belong, for justice, for security, and for peace. That's why I cannot and will not examine this from one side while excluding the other. You asked me to pass a resolution or be complicit in genocide, and I've had to take great care to make sure that I craft this so that I'm not complicit in calling for genocide. When I even mention a different perspective is something I need to be mindful of as a policymaker and the person crafting this resolution, you accused me of privileging the other perspective. Acknowledging the existence of more than one thought, more than one perspective in this is not privileging. It's representation, and it is my duty. Some of you have said that nobody opposes this because nobody's come out. I want you to ask yourself why. We have people coming out saying that to not support this is supporting genocide. And in that same breath, calling for, from the river to the sea, gentlemen in the white, which to many means advocacy for a secular democratic state in which Israelis and Palestinians would have equal rights, but which was also chanted in the immediate aftermath of October 7th as an implicit celebration and call for violence against Israelis, and which many Israelis know only with the connotation of forced removal of Jewish people from Israel. When a movement demands that violence and death must stop, and in the same breath supports resistance by any means necessary, you have to ask, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you all? When protesters make signs that say globalize the Intifada, what part of shaking them off are you comfortable with? Does it only support violence that doesn't take life? If it extends to the death of others to support your desire for the reversal of colonialism, then please do not knit your eyebrows together and grasp your chest when you speak of death. You support it, not tacitly, but out loud. You do not get to preach to me how you don't.
Come on now.
I'm telling you right now.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
On the flip side of the same coin, calls for the complete eradication of Hamas without concern for the impact on civilians shows a callousness and comfort with violence that I also condemn. Hamas is a symptom of a much deeper, darker issue that has been brewing for decades, a hydra that regenerates with each wound. Asserting the necessity of eliminating Hamas without addressing the underlying cause that fuels its existence ignores the broader context of the conflict. Such groups emerge and persist as symptoms of deep-seated issues that require thoughtful engagement rather than perpetual war. I have some personal notes to some of you, and I'm going to share those with you when we're not on camera, because I think they're important. Final thoughts. I don't believe in good and evil. I believe in broken, flawed, scared, yearning people. I believe in seeking to understand rather than to label, to empathize rather than to judge. I believe that our discourse should be enlightened by the knowledge that in every narrative there are shades of truth, and in every truth there are stories untold. I hope that tonight our words and actions speak to a future where people can write a new chapter, one that speaks of reconciliation, mutual respect, and the audacity of hope. I urge us to embrace complexity and to resist the temptation of one-dimensional narratives. The greater conflict cannot be reduced to simple slogans or binary choices. It demands a deeper understanding, a willingness to listen to the myriad voices that echo from both sides of the divide. I hope that those of you who are here tonight speak to people outside your own circle and narrative and help people build that understanding. Today is every day. I hope we can remember the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." In the heart of the Middle East, amidst the echoes of ancient civilizations, lies an opportunity, not just to make history, but to heal it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council?
I would just, I don't really have like a very prepared statement, but, I would note that the number of folks walking out when presented with even a remotely alternate view of the situation is indicative of the unwillingness to have a meaningful conversation. I have received a lot of emails from folks that was not a friendly dialogue. And I don't feel that a lot of this has been particularly civil. We have had a lot of horrible things said, and I don't appreciate it. I, too, am a Jewish resident of Ferndale. I don't think that anybody gets to speak for my experience as a queer Jew and my view of the situation. As a personal person, I share all of your desires. I would like a ceasefire in Gaza. I would like a free Palestinian state where folks can thrive. But I don't want that at the expense of Israel either. I'm a pragmatically Zionist person, I suppose you would say. I don't like being told that if I don't do any particular thing, that I'm complicit in a genocide. I'm not any more than anyone else in this room is. My tax dollars are the same tax dollars you guys pay. Like, I'm not paying anything different into the military-industrial complex. I oppose that military-industrial complex. I find it appalling, abhorrent. It does not reflect my values. But again, I distinguish, like my colleagues, between what I believe as a person, a resident of Ferndale, a queer Jew, a resident of this world, versus what action we can or should take as a government body. I can sit here and I can tell you my personal views, and I intend to respond to every single email I've received, even the ones that were, let's call them unfriendly. And I will tell you what my views are. I will make them public. I share your desires. I want the same things. But what I won't do, I know what you want me to say. I see you. But what I won't do is take the government action you want us to take. It is not an appropriate action for this government.
Are there any other? Excuse me. It'll be just a moment before you have call to audience.
That's a fair question. What is appropriate? Nothing. There's nothing that this government can do to alleviate the situation.
Okay, all right. If there's no more deliberation from council, could we have a roll call?
Kelly.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. The proclamation passes. At this point, we are going to have call to audience. Just so you know that call to audience, we have allotted for a half hour for audience members to speak for 3 minutes. Please be wary, not wary, but mindful that there are some people who are speaking for the first time, and I'd like for them to have that opportunity to do so. Please be mindful of your 3-minute time, because I'd like to allow for all individuals to speak, but if we go too far over the 30 minutes, I will have to cut it off. But we are starting right now. Please state your name and your address, and then we'll start with you. Hello.
I'm speaking about something completely different, so perhaps this will lighten the mood just a little bit. I am here from the Ferndale Arts and Beautification Commission, and we have been celebrating Mardi Gras and Yardi Gras. And I came tonight to joyfully ask all of you to join us tomorrow evening at 5:30 p.m. at Howie's Bayou to celebrate our neighborhoods decorating of their houses and porches in the style of Yardi Gras, which was started during COVID in New Orleans and been carried on by our former head of the Beautification Commission and our current head of our commission, along with myself. We organized this get-together in celebration of the creativity and people in our community. So I'd like everybody to take a deep breath and smile, because tomorrow is Fat Tuesday and it's the end of Mardi Gras, and please join us at Howie's Bayou. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Angela Lepard. I live on East Breckenridge in Ferndale. Since Heidi Prasad and I first came to you in November to ask you for a ceasefire resolution, the number of people that have been massacred in Palestine has nearly doubled. I can share that I am embarrassed that our progressive city could do so little, and I'm heartbreakingly disappointed in your response to what is happening in Gaza. There's no gray area when it comes to genocide. We compromised with you to give the bare minimum of a ceasefire resolution, and you could not give us that. With the little efforts our city council has made, I have to ask, do you know that Israel is shooting children, at people trying to get food and water? They were bombing homes, house of worships, ambulances. Are you watching right now as they're killing people in designated safe zones? Do you see the children without limbs? Do you see the Palestinian men digging survivors out by hand? Because I have determined that either you don't care to know what's happening in Palestine, or you know what's happening in Palestine and you don't care. Because again, there's no gray area with genocide. What is happening is a genocide. It's not a conflict. There are many parts of this proclamation that frustrate me, but the comments about empathy, respectful dialogue, constructive discussion are especially frustrating, because I don't know that in the role that you know what those things mean. Before you shut me down, I just ask you to hear me out. I want to remind you that you are a public servant. You signed up to hear what's impacting your constituents. As a person in my 20s, I had a human service job, and I had the job to have the skill set to listen to angry people, to not take that personally, and to empathize with their anger, because I understood that what they were angry about impacted their health, their well-being, and sometimes even their life. I couldn't clutch my non-existent pearls and say these people were picking on me, that they were bullying me, that they weren't being respectful enough. I had to connect to people's humanity and understand what help they needed. So before you use your vague proclamation to police people at the meeting on respectful discourse or tone, remember the oath to serve. If your takeaway tonight is that we are not centering your feelings, your comfort enough, then you're not right for this job. People are dying. This is a genocide. It's an absolute bare minimum to make a statement to say that you recognize your citizens want a permanent ceasefire. Because yes, that's what we want. You do not represent Haley Stevens. You should be telling her instead that her constituents want her to stop supporting genocide. You do not represent Jeremy Moss. You should be telling him why your constituents don't want the continued ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. You don't just represent a small subsect of a white politically influential residents. You represent Palestinians, Muslims, Middle Eastern, Jewish, and the rest of us reaching out to you asking for a ceasefire resolution. Again, if you're called to true service, then you should be working with us for a solution. It's never too late to do the right thing.
Hello, my name is Ahmed Ghanem. I live in Ferndale, Michigan for the past 15 years or so. I was not planning to speak, but I was just bringing my kids to speak and speak their minds. But after I saw the show that you guys put here, I have to respond to it. Gentlemen, if you are working in a government and you don't know that government can create solutions, I would, suggest you step down. Because if you study the history of the United States, I was born outside the United States, but I studied the history of the United States. The major changes that happened in the United States, including segregation, including education, all this started on local level and took all the way to Supreme Court. So if you sit there and don't understand, you said, I don't know what the government can do, I would suggest you step down. Thank you. Mayor, you said that the resolution has to resolve anything. The resolution has to be to resolve everything. That's what you said right now, right? That's what you said, right? Correct?
Proceed.
Okay, I see here on the agenda for today, I'm not a lawyer, but I see here on the agenda saying City Council resolution to encourage our state rep to do something. So your resolution did not solve anything except encouraging a state rep to do something. This is the exact thing we wanted you to do. We wanted you to encourage Haley Stevens that's making you like puppets to vote against funding Israel. We wanted the ceasefire is the resolution to encourage. So exactly the same language that you have here. So you have no case. Thank you very much for working with us. I met with you. I respect you, and you did work hard on this resolution. Thank you very much. I didn't like what you said. You know why? Because it's not about you. It is not about you. We are here because of thousands of people that were killed in Gaza. We are here because those hundreds of people around the city wants to feel like they're human again. We are here because I want that my kids are safe. When I look at on Facebook or in social media, see kids are killed, I look at my kids. It's not about you. So when people are coming to grief and you're talking about yourself, I think you should think about it a little bit. I think that the veil is lifted. The veil has been lifted in this country. Now we see there is an establishment that controls this country. Now that we see that our representatives, they don't represent us. They represent the establishment. And we talk about Donald Trump and 70 million people called and elected Donald Trump. And the establishment would like to tell you that the 70 million people that elected Donald Trump are racist. They are not. They are tired of people like those people that don't represent us. And the only way for us to defeat fascists like Donald Trump is to change the course and to elect people that represent us. And I want you to vote uncommitted tomorrow, every single day. And everyone like the gentleman has to be replaced and leave their place for someone can do something.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Maya. I live at Livernois and Hazelhurst. I've been wanting to speak for a long time now. We've been watching the meetings from home and also came to the last one and have just so many thoughts built up. Every morning I see death. Children being crushed by tanks, parents grieving their child, starvation, Palestinians eating bread, animal feed, and nothing else. And sometimes, and we forget to talk about this, you see joy, like Gazans spending their mornings watching the sunrise over the ocean or sharing a hot meal together in their home. Witnessing is one of the most important things we can do right now. Witnessing and helping to record the history of injustice. But I have extreme doubts council has witnessed any of these horrors. Laura might have mentioned seeing Motaz, but I don't think any of the others have seen anything, because if you look at the main news, you won't see the videos, you won't see any of the trauma that's going on. It is all covered. If you woke up every morning seeing beautiful humans being destroyed in the hundreds, you would want to stand up for them. You would have enacted a resolution that tells our community they are safe, listened to, and seen. But instead, the council ignored its community and created this pathetic proclamation. In the proclamation, you avoid words like genocide and placate Zionists by calling this a conflict. If you think the mass murdering of 30,000 people is a conflict, then you're honestly messed up. I want to use a worse word than that. The fact that this entire process has been so painful for those involved is just telling that the council does not care for its community, especially those who are Palestinian. I'm sure you're proud of yourselves for voting on this proclamation, voting yes, but I'd like to remind you that your community expects you to do so much more. I hope you listen next time and give us the courtesy of doing your jobs and not being so damn combative. Like, what the heck? Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Simrat. I also live at Livernois and Hazelhurst. I'm my partner. Today I stand before you in solidarity with the innocent children and parents who have tragically lost their lives in the ongoing genocide and what remains of Palestine. The first generation queer, Sikh American with families scattered across the globe, many of whom have lived in the shadows out of fear, passed down through generations of trauma, I'm compelled to share a few points with you. One is the power of silence. Silence is not neutrality, it is complicity. In times of injustice, silence from those in power is as destructive as the violence itself. What message do we send to our kids when we remain silent in the face of injustice, especially funded by our own taxes? We've only received silence over the past few months with no comment to the public after we speak. Two is influence of special interests. Our state and federal officials are influenced by substantial contributions from groups like AIPAC. In 2022, AIPAC spent $10 million in congressional districts 11, 12, 13. We're in 11, and Haley Stevens has AIPAC as her top contributor. Local unity is really the only way we can move forward. Our collective voice must rise above these special interests. Ceasefire resolutions and sustained grassroots efforts are imperative. Three is the impact of words. Words hold power. The hesitancy of our council to even bring a proclamation sends a chilling message to marginalized communities. The proclamation presented falls short, minimizing the gravity of the situation. This is not a conflict. This is a genocide. And our failure to acknowledge it as such perpetuates the harm. And four, speaking truth to power. This isn't about involving ourselves in international matters. It's about speaking truth to power when power has to come to money. Ferndale must stand unequivocally for the marginalized, denouncing this genocide for what it is, which is not a conflict. I implore you to show courage and recognize the truth. And if you don't have the courage to create and pass a ceasefire resolution, at least have the decency to create a proclamation that truly represents us. Since the last comment in December, the death toll has nearly doubled. We cannot sign checks for this genocide. Instead, let us advocate for those in need, redirecting funds to address homelessness, the city's budget deficit, and for better or worse, the eyes of the county and state are on Ferndale. Please do better. I know you can. If 30,000 Americans were killed, you would not call it a conflict. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hank. I'm a one-time Ferndale resident. I currently live in Hazel Park. Last night, if you watched the Super Bowl, as I did, we were victims of a WMD, a weapon of mass distraction. While we were watching the 49ers and the Chiefs, the city of Rafah in southern Gaza was bombed, supposedly a safe zone, and yet Israel bombed it anyways, killing at least 67 people. Rafah was the same city where American activist Rachel Corrie was killed by an Israeli bulldozer while protesting illegal home demolitions. Rachel Corrie was not violent. She was inspired by the example of the Freedom Riders, and they killed her anyways. At the same time last night, our government approved another $14 billion to the government that carried out this bombing. This is a government whose Minister of Transport called migrants from Sudan a cancer, whose finance minister said, "I am a proud homophobe," and compares gay pride parades to bestiality. This is the same government whose defense minister has a framed portrait in his living room of the Israeli terrorist and mass murderer Baruch Goldstein, who killed 29 Muslims in cold blood as they prayed. We would not tolerate this type of government in America. We would not tolerate this type of government in Michigan. So why are we propping it up over there? The fact that this council took so long to call on that government that we are funding to stop the killing and support a ceasefire is shameful. We in this room are not sunshine soldiers out of Tom Paine. We will not give up when the fighting gets tough. We will be here until we get a just and lasting peace, not just in Israel and Palestine, but all over the world. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rabab Katab, and I'm a resident of Ferndale. I was hoping to come tonight and thank the City Council for finally listening to the community and doing the bare minimum of introducing and passing a ceasefire resolution. But that didn't happen. This council instead chose to introduce and pass a proclamation that frankly, at best, is apathetic and at worst is insulting. Instead of receiving support from those that we elected to acknowledge the act of genocide happening in Gaza, we're told it's a quote-unquote conflict. For months, we've been asking the City Council to stand and say, yes, we agree for humanity's sake, the bloodshed needs to stop. That we will stand with our residents and numerous other cities across Michigan and the country to join them and in the call for a permanent ceasefire. But instead, the best you could do was state the obvious. But the obvious is better than nothing, and I am grateful to this community for continuing to speak truth to power. This council can keep saying that it doesn't deal with quote-unquote international affairs, that we should go to those that can do something about this. We have, and they are in fact doing something. The very people that are supposed to represent us in the federal government are in fact helping to continue to fund this slaughter with our tax dollars. They are the ones refusing to abide by U.S. law and condition aid sent abroad, and are instead content to continue giving a blank check to Israel. They are the ones that are signing on to ridiculous statements condemning South Africa for having the courage to demand accountability for Israel's crimes against humanity. Because yes, Palestinians are human too. Those that are claiming to represent us are the ones actively denying that what the majority of citizens of the world are witnessing, a genocide. Are my words harsh? Well, after 4 months of witnessing parents mourning over the bodies of their children and loved ones, after seeing men, women, and children executed in broad daylight by snipers, and after more recently listening to the screams of Hind Rajab's sister in her final moments as she and her family were surrounded while there in their car and mercilessly executed by the Israeli military, and after then hearing the terror in 6-year-old Hind's voice calling medics back after witnessing the murder of her family, begging to be rescued, after witnessing the desperation of Hind's mother, pleading for someone, anyone, to find her daughter, only to then mourn over the bodies of her daughter and the rest of her family, as well as the medics that went looking for Hind after they were found nearly 2 weeks later. Honestly, my words weren't harsh enough to describe my frustration at the apathy and dehumanization I continue to witness against the Palestinian people. I plan to vote uncommitted on the Democratic ballot for the upcoming presidential primary. And I encourage everybody with a conscience to do the same. Let it serve as a message to not just the president, but to every elected official in the state of Michigan that has actively or silently supported this genocide. We see you, and you've lost our support. If you're not able to say, stop the murder of innocent people, you don't deserve to be in positions that require the public's trust. Free Palestine.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie. I am a Ferndale resident. I did not plan to speak tonight, but I can no longer just share social media posts, and I can no longer continue to wake up and think about Gaza and go to bed thinking about Gaza. I'm here because we all know that change comes from the bottom and leads to the top. And if there's any way I'm going to make any change, it is speaking to you and letting you know my views. And know that I am hurting every day. My community members are hurting every day. I have lived in Ferndale since 2014, and my boyfriend and I just bought a house in November. There is nowhere else in Michigan I would rather live. And not because of the rolling hills and the lakes I'm here because of the people, because we are inclusive, because we believe in diversity. And I appreciate what you have put together with the proclamation, but it is not enough. There needs to be more. I helped elect all of you into office, and frankly, I am terrified for 2024. I feel like politics have been a spiral since 2016, and 2024 is not looking great. It is not looking great. The Democratic Party continues to be divided. It is continuing to be divided. And unless I see better action from the rest of you and the rest of the Democratic elected officials, I will vote uncommitted. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Peggy Harp, and I live on West Saratoga. And I want to thank Laura for all of her work that she's done and her thinking and learning, her education, and for basically being the spokesperson for all the people up there. It's really disappointing not to really hear from anybody else. And I want to say that I voted for you, Laura. I voted for you, Rolanda. I might not ever vote for you again, and I didn't vote for the rest of you. And I think I made a pretty good decision. And I will not be voting for anybody that does not support a ceasefire resolution. I was really curious that, I was really shocked to see that it was a proclamation and that it felt like there wasn't that much difference. So I wonder, like, if there wasn't that much difference, why not just go with the thing that was wanted and that was being asked for? Like, why muddle the water, you know? So I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I'm going to come here until we get what we want, and that is a ceasefire resolution from Ferndale. And I'd also feel like you listen to Israel and Israel's government more than the citizens that you represent. You listen to people above you, Congress people that take AIPAC money, and it's really gross. I'm really disgusted and disappointed, and I really hope that you guys can prove me wrong. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Gilmer-Hill. I'm a Detroit resident, just about a mile and a half south from exactly this point in Detroit. I'm here firstly and foremost to echo the sentiment expressed by everybody else. This proclamation that you've put forward today is not enough. While we recognize that it is a step in the right direction, it cannot be the final step, and we will continue to show up until we get a ceasefire resolution and action from this council that truly meets the moment, because that moment is a genocide that is happening in the present tense. That should guide much more of the discussion than it has. We're not being uncivil or unreasonable or impolite or unfriendly when we ask this council to do more than literally nothing. And it is deeply, deeply disappointing to me that there are members of this council that think it is appropriate to do literally nothing as a government body faced with a genocide happening right now, funded by our tax dollars, supported by the same elected officials that you have no problem encouraging on the things that you seem to care more about. I'd like to make the procedural point that on this same agenda, you're going to adopt a resolution that does the thing that we have asked you to do and that you have said there's no way that you can do, which is to simply take a stand, to encourage our other elected officials to do the right thing and to stand up against a genocide. I might understand if some of you are arguing that we shouldn't have a ceasefire. I would fundamentally disagree, and I would share the same belief I hold now, that anyone who holds that belief should not be an elected official. But that would at least be less hypocritical. Several of you, those of you who deigned to speak on this, did personally call for a ceasefire. I recognize that that is not easy, and I thank you for doing that bare minimum step. But if you believe that a ceasefire is necessary, if you believe that we need to stop the killing, there is no justification for making that as purely an individual statement and not as the body representing the people who clearly want a ceasefire. The people of Ferndale, the people in this room, the people who bother to show up, want a ceasefire. I understand there may be some others who prefer to speak to you privately, some who have the influence and the access to do that, even if that's not a luxury afforded to everybody. That should not be what guides your decision. That should not be what guides your view of what Ferndale wants. As a gay black man, I recognize that a strong stance against discrimination is necessary, even when that discrimination is not just targeting me. It is deeply disappointing to me that this council does not share that same view about genocide. If you can adopt a stance against discrimination, there is no get out of jail free card in your charter that says you cannot adopt a stance against genocide. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Mullen. I am a resident of Ferndale here at 429 East Saratoga Street in Ferndale, Michigan. This past Friday, I think many of us who are currently in this room went to a concert over at Drifter Coffee here in Ferndale. Well over 100 community members came out because they believe, centered around believing one thing: a ceasefire is needed now in Gaza. And someone that very graciously arrived to express their views was our former congressman and Jewish American, Andy Levin, who had a lot to say about this topic, but I wanted to share something he said directly with you all. And this is the words of Levin right here. There are politicians who go, oh my God, people are demanding me of things that are not about sewers or cleaning up the streets. It's about something that's happening far away. Sometimes things rise to a level of moral necessity where the wonderful leadership of Ferndale, who I love, to stand up and pass a resolution saying that we need a ceasefire now. Now, like many other people have said here tonight, this proclamation is a start with that. But I wish council would take a stronger stance as well. Levin had the courage, despite being swatted away by AIPAC in the last election, to still call for a ceasefire in Gaza, to take a stand on what's happening against the Palestinian people. I hope you all will take a stronger stance moving forward as well. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Terhar. I live on Meadowdale Street in Ferndale, and I will echo what many have said here tonight, that I am disappointed in both the language of the proclamation, which I do not believe is strong enough, and I'm also disappointed with the choice of a proclamation when a resolution is what was asked for. I'm disappointed because when my partner and I moved to Southeast Michigan, we chose this community because of what we thought the values that it stood for, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and thought that this would be a community that would stand up for those values no matter what. And I really feel like I'm questioning that, especially seeing our neighboring communities being able to adopt resolutions and this council refusing to do so. I'm also disappointed as a constituent, not just because this isn't what we asked for, but because I don't feel very heard. I do appreciate those who have listened and responded. That hasn't been everyone. I will also say there have been times during this process that I felt very condescended to. And I heard tonight a feeling of frustration that we are not appreciating the nuance and research that's been done on your end. And then I feel I was also told and painted with a very broad stroke that really lacked nuance or understanding of where I'm coming from. So that's really disappointing to me as a constituent. I will also say that I sincerely hope that people who are bringing their concerns and voicing issues of injustice to you are not being tone policed the way that we were here tonight. Because I think it is crucially important that all of our citizens here can come to you as their representatives and bring these very important issues forward and feel heard. So I will continue to come back until we get a resolution. Thank you for the chance to speak tonight.
Hello, Council. My name is Jason Krzyzak. I live nearby in Pleasant Ridge. I've always looked towards Ferndale as a beacon, honestly, in the state of Michigan. I was on the city commission in Pleasant Ridge, and frankly, Ferndale was a guide for us on a lot of issues. So I appreciate the history of leadership from this community. I have to say, observing the activism that's been going on in this community around what I believe is a necessity to call for a ceasefire of what is obviously a horrific humanitarian catastrophe and genocide, I would feel it was natural for this body to speak up and call for a ceasefire. Talking to Heidi, talking to some of the activists in this community, really struck me. It's disappointing that there was as much pushback as has been indicated. I will say, I was a city commissioner for 8 years. I got called a whole bunch of awful stuff. In fact, to the point where, you know, I felt, as many of you do, what am I doing here? Is it even worth it? I think in moments like this, it is an opportunity to rise up and stand for people who don't have a voice. When I look around this room, when I look around communities like Ferndale, these are the people that come to your meetings, the people that come to our meetings at a local level. Those are the people who are being killed over in Gaza. These are the people who don't have a voice. They don't have the connections. You know, when we talk about who is suffering, it's not the politicians, it's not the warmongers, it's the people. And it's the people of this community joining in solidarity with people around the world to say, this is not acceptable. And that's what brought me here tonight, was just to say, you know, I stand in solidarity, and I hope that you would increase the severity of your language in calling for a direct ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you.
Before you get started, Prasad, I just wanted everyone to know that we are at our max, and Prasad will be the last speaker.
Probably one of my favorite philosophers. So this is going to be the academic in me. Michel Foucault says, people know what they do. Frequently they know why they do what they do. But what they don't know is what they do does. Besides everything else, I think what has happened here tonight and what is happening around Michigan is a broken trust. I love this city. It's been great to me. I have nuance. I'm still an immigrant. And that's a long story for why I am. I'll be happy to tell any of you someday. I have a friend I went to grad school with who is in an Israeli prison. And you saw my friend Hassan, I've known for 30 years, who is a survivor of the Nakba. I have no doubt in my mind that this is one of the most profoundly difficult issues to deal with. It has been for the longest time. I have been on the receiving end of it. I've been very solidly pro-Palestinian, but I'm a peace activist, so I've been very solidly pro-peace. But to speak on behalf of peace and the end of the occupation has been, on more than one occasion, I've been branded an anti-Semite. I've been surveilled by Abraham Foxman of the New England ADL. I've been surveilled by other organizations as I've spoken out in defense of Palestinian rights. All of that at some level doesn't matter to the fact that tonight there's still that sense of broken trust. And what it does is, that trust, that lack of trust is going to expand as people have talked about what is happening in Michigan. The people of the United States do not deserve another Trump term. That would be dangerous and harmful for all of us. But the people of Michigan also know that one of the few paths for Joe Biden to win is through Michigan, and we are not being heard. Courage requires not the question of taking the right vote here and there, but courage requires a way to have a conversation where people feel heard and trust remains. And if I had one thing to say tonight, it's going to be very, very hard to repair the trust that we feel has been broken by the way council has responded to this issue over the past 3 months. That is the work that needs to be done, because in it lies not just our sense of a community, which is broken and needs repair, but also what's going to happen in November, and our inability to speak with a voice and with moral clarity. We have a problem, and the problem is of broken trust.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for speaking.
Madam Mayor, if I might, as a point of personal privilege, to clarify a remark I made earlier.
Proceed.
I want to be clear that I don't mind being criticized. I don't mind being called names. I don't think any of us do. What I mean to say is I have received threats that I should feel unsafe as a city council member in this community. That's what I mean. You can criticize all day long. You can send me all the emails you want. But the handful of emails I've gotten telling me that I shouldn't feel safe here, that's not okay. Being an elected official doesn't mean you get to threaten us. You can disagree with us, but you can't send us thinly veiled threats by email telling us that we shouldn't feel safe in the community that we serve. That's not okay. That's not dialogue. Those are threats.
Thank you, Donnie. At this time, we have a public hearing and regarding the transfer of an intra-county Class C liquor license introduced by Kyle B. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Thank you for the brief introduction. So this is just a public hearing for transfer of a liquor license to 915 East Drayton Road. As a really brief recap, this came before Council almost exactly 1 year ago, February 27th of 2023. The applicant sought and received a special land use from you to use this site as a banquet hall. So it's not open yet. We're still going through the construction process with building permits and so on. It is a mixed-use site, so there's a daytime sushi business there. They have a test kitchen and they do some of their processing there, and then they ship it out to grocery stores in the area. But they were able to convert this large building into a mixed-use banquet facility. So it's more of a nights and, or really weekends used to be used for weddings and other venues and events. And they are looking to incorporate a liquor license into those events. So we do have the representative with Patrick Van Lin here. If you'd like, he can give a few words about the project. Otherwise, I think that's all I have to say. I think I should note that the liquor license subcommittee did meet and hear and approve this item. Thank you.
Excuse me. Evening. Patrick Van Lin. Good to see you all again. I don't know how much background you would like me to give you. I know it's been a pretty heavy evening. We're excited about this project. Like I said, we're in construction phase right now. It's going to be probably it's a fairly significant time. We don't know how long it's going to be, but probably 8 months. But we're excited to be here and get this going.
This is a public hearing. I open it up to anyone who has comments regarding.
Yes, Paul Collum, East Breckenridge. Question, is there any parking variances for this project? Or are they asked for parking variances?
Yeah, Mayor, if you'd like me to respond.
Please.
Yes, there were. So we do have a parking agreement that is shared with some of the other businesses in the area. As part of the development process and discussions with the city, they propose using a valet service for the area. So they've engaged with a business on that. And as part of the parking agreement, I mean, it's broken down into different uses, and I think there was consideration given to the fact that it is a nighttime use in this area. That would be the heavy use for the event space. I don't recall if there's an actual parking variance in addition to the parking agreement. There's some overlapping parking concerns that we did work out at the planning commission level. But overall, I would say the bulk of the parking is reliant on the shared parking agreement with surrounding properties. And there is still parking on site too, to be clear.
Those are contractual in the agreement? The parking agreements with the other neighboring businesses on a contractual basis?
Yes.
Are there any other comments regarding the public presentation? All right, I open it up to council with any questions.
Through the chair. So just to share with the rest of council, I was on the planning commission when this item did arrive, and the planning commission did review it. We did have some concerns about the parking. We had some concerns about the traffic flow coming off of Woodward Heights. Many of the changes that were suggested have been implemented in making sure that proper parking is made available when it's going to be maximum use. As Kyle did mention, this is both a banquet facility and a food preparation facility. So the daytime food preparation facility, there's not very many employees. So the amount of parking is actually more than what's needed on the site. And in the evening, when most of the industrial businesses are going to be closed, is when the lost my word, banquet facilities would then be utilized, and on the weekends. There is a valet service company that's one block over that also has parking, and they're going to be one of the businesses that is going to be contracted, so that valet company is very familiar with the area, and the Planning Commission didn't see any overt concerns over supporting the project and did so. The only thing that we didn't have to review was the liquor license, which we knew you were applying for.
Any other comments regarding council? Your motion.
I move we approve the transfer of the liquor license.
Support.
You want to be a little?
Wait, read it out.
Do you want me to read it out?
Yeah.
We needed specifics.
Our council likes it when
No, I'm used to my day job where there's a clerk who reads it. A reading clerk. I move that we approve the transfer of an intra-county Class C liquor license for VV7 LLC located at 915 East Drayton Road, Ferndale, Michigan, 48220.
Support. Oh, I think someone else supported.
That'd be me. Support.
Maybe have a roll call.
Johnson?
Yes.
Mikulski?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Polika?
Yes.
Leaks May?
Yes. That motion passes. I would now like to read the consent agenda items. Item 7A, approval of the January 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes. Item 7B, approval of Phase 1 environmental site assessment at proposed site of future combined public safety facility by Fishbeck for $2,500. Item 7C, approval to amend the agreement for the local fiscal recovery fund distribution between Oakland County and the city of Ferndale for infrastructure planning. Item 7D, approval of the vehicle lease agreement with SMART for the replacement of a SMART van for the Parks and Recreation Department fleet. Item 7E, approval of the listed appointments and reappointments to the city boards and commissions. Item 7F, approval of public service contract using community development block grant funds. And 7G, approval of the bills and payrolls as submitted by the finance director and subject to review by the council finance committee. Who will entertain a motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Mikulski?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Polika?
Yes.
Leaks May?
Yes. That brings us to our regular agenda regarding the approval of Department of Public Works to replace the 3 variable frequency drives at the Hilton Road Pump Station for the amount of, it looks like $150,000.
Yeah, so that's a big ask. I wanted to make sure I had a little bit of information to present for it. So the Hilton Road Pump Station improvements, there's multiple things that need to be done though over the next few years. The big ones and most important and critical ones to our water system are replacing the 3 remaining VFDs or variable frequency drives. A little bit of context, the Ferndale water supply, the water distribution system, we get our water from Gliwa through 2 connections, one at Wanda, one at Hilton. Those go through PRVs, which stands for pressure reducing valves. We'll get into that a little bit more, but those protect our system from high pressure spikes that are sent to us through the inlet with GLWA. We have a pump station on Hilton Road. I apologize for the bad picture. I meant to take one earlier and I just got this, but that is the water tank and the pump station right in front of it. And it's by the railroad tracks off of Hilton. We have 2 pressure districts. One of them is a northwest pressure district that is served by the Albany Booster Station. So the water goes from Hilton to the Albany Booster Station, then pressure is brought up in the northwest side of the city that's furthest away from the Hilton pump station. We have a 3 million gallon storage tank that you see in that picture. We have 80 miles of water main that connect all of our residents and commercial properties. And I probably should have got the actual number. I believe it's 15,000 and change. And I should have, at a minimum, removed the question mark because that makes me look silly. Pressure reducing valve info. The PRVs are at Wanda and Hilton, like I mentioned. This is a map that shows where they connect to the city. FE02 is the Hilton PRV that goes to our pump station. They're both at 8 Mile. The secondary is Wanda. They reduce inlet pressure from Gliwa when Gliwa has an issue. HRC has explained this to me, and I like the example that your PRV are like a good pair of suspenders. And we have, not only do we have a good pair of suspenders, but we have a belt. And the belt is what we're trying to replace today. There's 4 variable frequency drives that run 4 pumps at our pump station. Again, this is another layer of defense that protects the system from pressure spikes. Pressure spikes damage water mains. They especially do damage to old water mains. These ensure that volume and pressure is regulated and sent out to all of our meters that supply homes and commercial properties. Again, they reduce the inlet pressure from Gliwa as well when that pressure gets past the PRVs. This is what you would assume or consider your belt. And then just one more quick thing. It's basically an electric board that communicates to a computer, and then that communicates to the pump that actually pushes water throughout the system. They're old. They're about 16 years old. That doesn't seem that old, but that is old for computer components. We have 4 total to run the 4 pumps, as I mentioned. We just replaced one of the VFDs in January, so we have 3 left that need to be replaced. Parts are obsolete. We've had some repairs. We actually had to get a replacement board or a part for a replacement board off of eBay for pump 4, which draws water from our storage tank. They're just not available anymore. So the pump 1 VFD was replaced in January, as I mentioned. We have remaining 3 that should be replaced as soon as possible. And that is the brief story of our VFDs.
Thank you. I open it up to council for any questions regarding this replacement or anything regarding this.
Through the chair, as usual, I have questions. The recently installed pump number 1 at a cost of $38,000, that was under budget, and I was shocked because typically whenever we're doing any sort of infrastructure improvement, it feels like we're either at budget or over budget. The 150 that we are looking at tonight, do you think that there is a potential for that to also be a little bit less than the 150? Like, will it potentially come under budget?
Yes, potentially they could each cost around $38,000. The reason we include that contingency is there could be issues with components that we haven't seen yet until we actually open these cabinets and see. There's transistors, boards, and other parts outside of the replacement that do connect those to the pumps, and there's times where additional work has to be made to those components.
Follow-up question. When we're doing this work, is there any risk that we are assuming doing 3 pumps at the same time with, I'm assuming with pump number 1 doing all the work and pump number 2, 3, and 4, would those all be replaced at the same time, or is it staggered?
It will be staggered. With water systems, you want redundancy, so you'll only take one down at one time. I believe pumps 1, 2, and 3 can all perform the same function to push water out from our inlet with Gliwa to the community. Pump 4, probably with some modifications, could do the same, but right now it's set up to pull from the tank. So we basically have 3 that could work as a primary pump in an emergency or to cover other unexpected situations. But yes, they will be not taken down simultaneously. They'll be taken down one at a time. And the second one will not begin until the one that was taken down is restored.
Any other questions from council? In that case, we need a motion.
I move that we approve is it a contract or a
Here it is.
request that we're? Right, we're approving the replacement, but are we approving a contract in this case, or are we approving a? What are we approving? That's my question.
The chair?
Should be the purchase.
Yeah,
Ju-
purchase.
Okay.
I could probably add, yeah, I could reach out to UIS and get a quote for the 3 remaining purchases if that's necessary.
The approval would be from the, purchase the proposal from SCADA, UHS SCADA Systems as presented. If you feel more comfortable, not to exceed would be fine.
No, we're approving a purchase, but I didn't see anything like contractually related, so.
It's a purchase order.
Through the chair, the motion language could be corrected.
Okay. Then I move that we authorize the purchase order for the Department of Public Works to replace 3 variable frequency drives at the Hilton Road Pump Station for an amount not to exceed $150,000.
Or with, we like the whole thing read.
That's
All right.
excessive.
Okay.
With expense charged to Water and Sewer Capital Projects, account number 592-000-977.000, as submitted by the Director of Public Works.
Or,
Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly,
yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Polika.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. And we have another regular agenda item, the city council resolution to encourage state representatives to support opting in to the ground emergency medical transportation program in Michigan. Were you presenting on this, Joe?
Through the chair, yes. Mayor, I'll present it, and I can ask Chief Robinson to speak on, from her perspective as a subject matter expert in the room. But I can't say I was approached by the Michigan Municipal League and 2 of our neighboring cities who are leading on this issue, Sterling Heights and Madison Heights. And specifically, they introduced the Ground Emergency Medical Transportation Program, which I was not familiar with because the state of Michigan does not opt into it. So this program, if the state chose to opt into it, would give communities like Ferndale who provide EMS, ground EMS support, an opportunity to get reimbursed for our uncollected Medicaid runs. And so we have significant capital needs in the fire department. We also have significant operational needs moving forward. So we need every dollar that we should be getting. And this, if the state chooses to opt in on this, it would have direct impact on the city's budget opportunities. This lobby is supported by the Michigan Municipal League, of which we're members of. It's also supported by the Michigan Township Association and the Michigan Association of Fire Chiefs, which I'll let Chief Robinson speak on behalf of, not I. And so, Chief, if you could just talk a little bit about the Emergency Medical Transportation Program.
Yeah, so what it is, the cost of doing business for EMS has been undervalued when we're talking about cost recovery. This has been recognized on a federal level, which is why there's a huge project going across with mandatory reporting to try to identify what is the cost of doing business to provide EMS or emergency medical services to communities. Because when they decided the fee schedule, it was not based necessarily on our industry and what the actual cost is for us to do what we do. We are in Ferndale is actually in our mandatory reporting year right now. We're collecting our data. We'll report it next year. And every city gets told when you have to do it. With that said, with everything, think of when you go to the doctor's office and you see the bill, your charge from the doctor was X amount of dollars, and then the insurance only pays so much, and the rest is kind of discounted. So that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about specifically Medicaid runs, we're paid at a specific rate, and there's a big difference between our actual cost of doing business and what our reimbursed at. We have this QAP in the state of Michigan, which was added a few years ago, and we pay every quarterly to the state of Michigan. it's like we pay them money for them to try to increase the money we get back on various runs. But the GMET is something in excess of that. It's already in place in other states, is definitely benefited. And one of the biggest benefits it provides to our communities is it helps us with purchasing of vehicles. One, on the state legislators, more and more are trying to find ways to purchase fire apparatus for communities. We've seen this around the state of Michigan. And they're getting sticker shock. They're having a hard time affording the cost because of the dramatic increase of everything with our business. So they're looking at it, and what happens if we get this increased cost recovery for the services provided, it helps us as individual communities afford the things we need as far as purchasing the ambulances to continue services, to pay for our personnel, keep our stuff maintained so it helps with recruitment and retention, all those things that are plaguing our communities and EMS services and fire departments across the state and the country. So GMET is a program that has proved very beneficial in states that have adopted it. And we do have a fire chief at Sterling Heights that came from another state where they did do this, and he can speak from personal experience as to the benefit. And he's actually been the driving force to bring this to Michigan. So we're really trying to get a voice across on local levels, state levels, and really push for it, because it's bringing federal dollars into our communities to help us do what we need to do and lessen the burden on our budgets and even the state. I can take any questions if any of that was not clear, or if you want more information.
I open it up to council for questions. Okay. Well, you're getting that, if I may, through the chair. Regarding this, do we, first of all, if we are fortunate to receive this extra funding, this would be a part of, where would the funding be allocated? Where would it go into a specific fund?
Yeah, so right now what happens, when we bill, we have a GL account number, the city, where our EMS fees come back to, for our billing company deposits everything, all the money they collect for us into that fund. What will happen is the amount that we receive will be increased, so the amount deposited in that fund for the services we provide will have an increase in that. This is not something that we would adopt just specifically in Ferndale. Now, every community can choose whether they want to opt in or out, because not everybody will want the additional reporting requirements associated with this. But this is something that I know I would be in support of. I already have started conversations for us to do a preliminary poll of data to see what that monetary impact would be for our community. I don't have that data right now because it takes time to pull it together, but we did start those conversations to start that process to see what that figure is for us, like Madison Heights had done for themselves, to see if it makes sense for them. So it'd be extra paperwork and record keeping for fire administration to keep up for this, but I feel like it would be beneficial to our community, so I'd be willing to take that on.
Through the chair, I'd also, we're in budget review right now internally, and this would be a new revenue stream, one that is owed, but I would be proposing council consider creating something akin to a revolving loan fund for fire capital with this new revenue, so it stays dedicated to, within the fire department's budget towards capital needs.
So it's, as you stated, it's important for us and individuals to reach out to our state and state legislatures to advocate for this, as well as many other initiatives that are important to this community.
Absolutely.
Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski, you said you had questions?
I did. My questions are mainly around, in doing a little bit of research on this, I found that some EMS agencies might find financial framework of the GEMT to be a little bit complex, difficult to navigate. Do we have somebody we can lean on for that experience to really learn from them, help set us up for success so that we can basically navigate that environment. I know that the reporting is much more structured, much more stringent.
Like I said, the Sterling Heights Fire Chief, he comes with a lot of experience with this. He has spoke to the Oakway Chiefs, and we're all working together. The great thing about the chiefs in Southeast Michigan, we really network and support each other. We help each other out. So that structure you're talking about is already being built. That's why some of the departments have been able to pull their data, and then they turn around and help others that want to pull theirs. So we have that support to look to each other for how to do it, so you don't feel like you're just trying to figure it all out. We definitely feel like we have a good support system and some subject matter experts we can go to. They have a lot of experience with this. And this is really geared to more to Medicaid, and where some areas make the mistake of adopting, there's two different types of Medicaid billing, and sometimes they just opt for one, but you don't necessarily know the payer makeup in your community what it is, so you should, for the state of Michigan, we want to push for it to include both. That way it's inclusive of anybody that would fall under that, so we don't only capture a small portion if our population is actually the other. But that gets a little more complex, but that's in there. And I have, they do have a website with a ton of resources that can answer questions also that they've set up.
Do you anticipate any additional staffing needs?
No, once we get the systems in place, the maintenance of it won't be that cumbersome. It's just initial setup and understanding it. With the admin staff and some of the stuff that I'm trying to work toward developing in our fire department, I think we'll be okay. And then we'll have support of our finance department as necessary too, because it is a very cooperative effort anytime you're talking about money. There's some elements that fall on the finance department that they would support us on, so we can work together on, like with many things.
Any other questions for council?
Motion to approve the resolution in support of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services opt-in to support ground emergency medical transportation reimbursement in Michigan as submitted by city manager.
I'll second that.
Polika,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. Now that brings us to call to council. It's been a long night, but before we do that, I'm just kind of going a little bit out of order for a moment. We approved some individuals to be appointed to some boards and commissions. And unfortunately, through everything that's kind of happened, I wanted to give the person that is here the opportunity to introduce themselves that's been appointed to the Ferndale Housing Commission, if you'd like. Yes. I meant to do this earlier, but thank you. Kind of sat through a long meeting, so thank you.
So much. To the council, thank you for the appointment to the Ferndale Housing Commission. It's a real honor, especially because I follow in the steps of my late mother, who served on the same commission in the city of Fort Wayne, Warsaw, Indiana. So thank you so much.
And you didn't mention your name.
Elvira Lozano.
Thank you for wanting to serve. It's volunteers like you that help us govern, and we appreciate your service on this board and previous boards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now call to council, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just use that opportunity to begin with me. I am happy to report the Finance Review Committee will meet for their expected final meeting this Thursday from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock at City Hall. We'll be reviewing their first draft review of their report to council. And I just want to acknowledge the opportunity to acknowledge Elvita. She's been a pleasure to work with and one of our Finance Committee members. We also heard from Simrajita tonight, who's also on the committee. So thrilled to see both of them and looking forward to the meeting on Thursday night. I'll have, we'll go to the city manager's office still. Denicia, if you could come up and plug season 2.
Good evening, Council. I am just here to announce Burn and Learn Season 2, which begins April 4th. Burn and Learn is Ferndale's 8-week civics education program, and we're open for registration until Monday, March 11th. But with Burn and Learn, you can attend interactive sessions that are led by directors and key staff, visit potential development projects, and tour city facilities. So space is limited. Again, registration closes March 11th. And you can visit ferndalemi.gov/city manager and then scroll all the way down to relevant services, and you'll see the Fern and Learn link there.
All right, thank you. And James, why don't you do the announcements for our park project updates?
Okay, a couple quick updates. The Wilson Park upgrade project is getting close to being back in front of you for the award of bid. We've worked really hard to get that project scoped and properly sized for the budget we have available, so that's exciting, and should be coming back to you very soon. And then the RFP for the Martin Road facility, that RFP closes next week, and we're hoping to have that back to you at the beginning of April for an award.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Lorena, for all the work finalizing those projects for the last couple of weeks. Fire Chief Robinson, if you could come back up one more time.
Well, good evening again, everybody. So I just want to remind council and any public watching that we did put our home fire safety inspection virtual. And if you haven't done it as council, I encourage each one of you to go to the website, click the link, and complete this yourself so you can see what this service offers. We would try to do it in person before, and obviously can be very inconvenient for people, and not everybody wants you in their house. We really want people to get this information and know the types of hazards in the house that otherwise they may not know. And we do have community members take advantage of it. When they do the home safety inspection, you can send us a question. It comes directly to my command group, some of my answers. You can say, hey, I realize I don't have enough smoke detectors. Can I have some more? We have the free smoke detector program. So it's a great way for the community to engage with us. So I encourage each one of you, if you have not done it, to go on and do it. It's free. Even if somebody doesn't live in Ferndale, it doesn't restrict them. They can do it. The biggest thing is we just want to serve as many people as we can with it. And we don't pay for it based on the number of people using it. So all of our communities can use it. And the other is the weather starts to get nice. I know it's about to get cold again. Remind people, new year, need a new burn permit. Remember, in the city of Ferndale, if you want to have a fire pit in your backyard, a campfire, any of that stuff, you do have to have a burn permit. You get it each year. It's only $25. You can go right to our website, apply for it, get your burn permit, and be done. And so it's just done virtually now. You can contact the fire department if you have questions about it.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Emmy, if you can give an update on a pretty cool event. That pun will hit in a minute.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're a bit out of the street corner roundtable season. One of our graduates from our Citizens Academy thought that bringing a street corner roundtable to one of our local businesses in the off season, I guess the winter time, to provide them a little shot in the arm and put a little spin on our community engagement event. So this wonderful resident recommended hosting a ice cream social at Treat Dreams, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. So we will be hosting a community engagement event at Treat Dreams on Thursday, February 22nd, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And we'll be finding a sponsor to cover ice cream and refreshments for the event. So we're hoping that some of you are able to make it out and engage some of our residents, our supporters, and maybe answer some questions. Hopefully it's a little lighter. And we are Oh, it's immediately following a Community Police Advisory Board meeting. So I'm hoping that members of the Police Community Advisory Board will be able to follow us along there and engage the residents right alongside the police department. It just kind of worked out, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we get a good turnout and support a local business. Thank you.
And I'll let Lorena bring us home with some positive community news from Parks and Recreation.
Okay, so this Saturday is our big day for our little princess dance with Princess Peach coming for a guest appearance. Registration is still open, so you have basically the remainder of this week to register if you haven't registered for the event yet. Our extravaganza is going to be on Saturday, March 23rd. We are looking for volunteers. We'll be at 3 parks, Martin Road Park, Geary Park, as well as Wilson Park. So we just need volunteers to help spread the eggs out, and if it's any left, which there never are, clean them up at the end. So please contact the Parks and Recreation Department if you're interested. Our seniors are on the move. We have a lot of trips that we've already taken this year. We have many more that are upcoming within the next couple weeks and early March. The 21st, the seniors will be going to the Detroit Historical Museum and then followed by lunch at Cuzzo's Chickens and Waffles. We have senior chair yoga, and we have a few spots left that right now, and that's on Monday, every Monday from 10:30 to 11:30 throughout the month of February. We also have a new senior storytelling event that will be on every Thursday in March from 1:30 to 2:30 starting on March 7th. We have another O'Connor's Public House Restaurant trip, which is Thursday, March 14th. The National Shrine of the Little Flower Church, and followed up with Green Lantern Pizza trip on Tuesday, the 19th. And then we'll also be recognizing Women Project dance performance at the DIA on Friday, March 22nd. It seems far away, but registration is open now, and the seats are limited because of our smart bus. So if anybody's interested, I encourage you to go to the website and register. We also have a new aquatics program that we are starting in March. So we know everybody wants to get in the pool. So we have partnered with Ferndale Public Schools to be able to utilize their pool. We're starting off with just 2 different activities at this time, which include water aerobics, as well as parent and tot classes. There will be limited space, so I encourage everyone to register early. Again, registration will be opening within the upcoming weeks. And then lastly, soccer registration will be opening, I believe, as early as next week as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's back to you.
Great. This is the time where we call to council. I can't remember where I started last.
Just pick one.
I will go to my left, starting with Councilman Polika.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to apologize to council. I was not able to be here when the meeting started. I had a family emergency. It's not resolved itself, but it's in a different situation right now. So, but I did want to go on the record. I was not able to vote on the ceasefire proclamation, but I would have been united with you on that vote. And that is all I have, Mayor.
Nothing further from me.
Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski. Councilmember Kelly.
Well, I had a statement I was going to read earlier, and I just really wanted to, thank Laura for all your hard work on bringing that to fruition. And I wanted to be on record that we've all been working hard behind the scenes and having many conversations with many different voices to ensure that all the voices are heard in Ferndale. And I think this proclamation did just that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, you've kind of mentioned something that I wanted to speak on as well. So activism is not easy. It takes courage, it takes a stance, and neither is advocating, in our case, for the community that trusts our leadership, advocating for the entire community. We heard some things tonight that were very difficult to hear, and I've also heard others including Councilmember Johnson, indicate that we do care. How can you not care about what is happening in the Middle East? Of course we care. We also care about this community, and what I don't think is understood is that there are voices that were here in this council chamber, and there are voices that have been reaching out that don't want to be in council chamber out loud. So we are looking and listening to everyone, which I think is our job to do. I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski for her courage tonight, for the hard work that she has put in on top of everything else she has to do regarding in drafting this proclamation. A lot of time has been spent, a lot of research has been spent. Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski has been sending us information regarding what is happening. So it is no doubt in my mind that when that proclamation was drafted, it came from someone who has been very aware and knowledgeable as to what's happening in the Middle East. It has been shared with me. I believe we are all aware. How can you not? We see those images, and it was a little disappointing for individuals to state that we cannot be seeing that. Of course we're seeing it. Of course we're seeing it. And I just know that we are coming from a place of trying to work on behalf of this community. The community as a whole has put a trust into us, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think that that proclamation spoke to the community. It was community written throughout that proclamation, and I'm very proud of the work that you put into it, Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski. So please know how much we appreciate you and for your courage tonight. I also have another statement of some events that have, well, first, I would like to share with you that the district, Ferndale Public Schools District, will be having a State of the District event on Wednesday, February 28th. I believe it is at 6:30 at University High School. So if you want to know the state of the district, please come out and hear what's going on in Ferndale Public Schools. Lots of changes. I also wanted to share some good news that I really like to share. As a parent of a student in Ferndale schools, I often get notifications about what's going on, and I just wanted to share, congratulate the 2024 school spelling bee champion, Jonathan Oatley, who went through a 27-round battle on the championship round, and on the word coleus. Runner-up was Zara Peterson. And also I want to give a special shout out to all of the classroom bee champions. You have to be a classroom bee champion before you go to the finals. Just to kind of name some of these students is Mikkel Ajunuma, Malik Flowers, Benjamin West, Sebastian Klein, Blake Ships, Huxley Herrick, Phoebe Duncan, Leo Haydell, and Brandon Watson, John Withrow, Darla Pickering, and Ariana Voltaggio. And just to let you all know that Mr. Oatley, Jonathan Oatley, will represent the Ferndale Upper Elementary School at the Oakland County Regional Spelling Bee on March 2nd at Oakland University. So just some good news about some good things that are happening in the schools. But other than that, I just Thank you all for being here. Thank you for everyone who spoke tonight. Thank you for my council members who work very hard day in and day out. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you all. And that's all I have for tonight. I can't even, it's such a glare on that clock. If someone can help me. 9:45. 9:45? This meeting's adjourned at 9:45. Thank you.